What's going on, everyone? Kyle and Hunter from Misfit Athletics here today to give you a couple of tips to make your dumbbell squat snatches easier. Now, this is one of those movements that is just as much, if not more parts mobility and flexibility than it is actual skill and strength. So the first tip that we have for you guys is to make sure that you are warm. So that includes obviously getting blood flowing, whether it's on a machine or going for a jog or something like that, but then also working on the various ranges of motion that you need to be successful in this movement. It's even more demanding than a squat snatch. So we're checking off ankles, knees, hips, and then that shoulder girdle, especially to make sure that we can hold the dumbbell overhead. The second thing, once we're warm, is get a lot of reps in. This is one of those movements that tends to feel better for athletes as they get warmer, and maybe that's just indicative that your warm-up needs to be longer. But either way, I'm gonna have Kyle work through a handful of reps of some just plain old single arm dumbbell overhead squats, and once he feels good about his positioning overhead, he can switch to a couple of squat snatches. So give me 3 on each arm overhead squats, and then 3 squat snatches on each arm. Okay. So as with this movement, we're looking for that bicep to be nice and close to the ear. That's going to pin that arm directly over his head. Of course, we're looking for that full range of motion, but Kyle's flexible enough and able to do this. Once he feels loose, then we can start to add the squat snatch portion. Good. Give me 2 more on the other arm. We'll call it there. Great. Awesome. Oftentimes you'll find that one side, maybe one arm, is a little bit stronger or more stable than the other, so take the additional time to make sure both sides feel just as good. Finally, mobility and flexibility aren't one of those things that we necessarily can change in one single session before we snatch. So if you have to, while you're still working on your mobility outside of the confines of the workout, if you need to, widening the feet just a little bit oftentimes will allow an athlete to get a little bit lower in that squat. Sometimes you'll see a little bit of that torso rotation with the dumbbell overhead, but sometimes widening the feet out just a little bit allows for more space for the athlete to sit down. So Kyle, that's his normal stance. If I have him, okay, let's just go like 1 foot width or half a foot width wider. Great. And now let's work through, let's go 4 total reps alternating. Keeping that dumbbell nice and close. Beautiful. Awesome. So there you have it, your dumbbell squat snatch. This is one of those movements where it really pays to warm up super well. Don't be afraid of getting a bunch of reps in, even with maybe a slightly heavier dumbbell, to help put you in the correct positions before you get started with that intensity. And for those of you who are still working on your mobility, widening those feet out a little bit might be the key to turning this movement from something you hate to something you just dislike a little bit more than other movements. If you guys like what you saw, make sure you head to misfitathletics.com, get on board with the squad for phase 4. We'll see you in the next one.